Isle of Man government is under growing scrutiny, not just for its anti-money laundering controls, but over the £90 million Lord Street court case. As Expo's news reports, this high-stakes legal battle lays bare deep concerns about alleged procurement failures, poor record-keeping, and weak governance, issues which are denied by the Isle of Man government. Criticisms have also been levelled at consultants Lambert Smith Hampton for behaving corruptly, which are also not admitted. But overall, these are serious claims that could themselves raise red flags when MoneyVal visits the island next October. The global financial watchdog will assess the island's defences against financial crime, corruption, and mismanagement, the exact concerns that are being tested in the long-running redevelopment case. But for Michael Josem, founder of the Manx Taxpayers Alliance, the problems are already plain to see.
To learn that there's now £90 million at stake in this court case is scary to me as a taxpayer of the Isle of Man, because it means that I suspect that the government officials who made this decision are not going to be held to account. And yet again, it's going to be the Manx taxpayer who's going to have to fork out the money, if this goes even more pear-shaped than it already is.
The £90 million Lord Street case, which also alleges serious structural or systemic lapses, such as the deliberate concealment of documents and government officers acting dishonestly, is just one example. Juan Turner, CEO of Manx.news, has long been vocal in his criticisms of the competency of the Isle of Man government.
The millions of pounds are just flowing out of that government for all sorts of botched schemes, decisions, and nobody is ever held accountable. This is going on all the time, where they're botching up contracts, tenders. If you read social media, it's always brown envelope, brown envelope. I've got to say, my experience in government, I would say the bulk of it is sheer incompetence.
However, Josem implies that it's not just about unlawful interference by government officials, it's a wider pattern of failed projects and wasted funds.
I think that this fundamentally happened because we have this group of meddling municipal menaces who administer a population the size of Chester, gambling great big chunks of taxpayer money on their various harebrained schemes. And I think that's deeply immoral.
He argues that the Isle of Man's political and media environment allows these failures to happen with little scrutiny.
So one of the difficulties of the Isle of Man as a community is it's relatively small at 85,000 or so people. And so compared to the 66 million of the United Kingdom or the 25 million people in Australia or the 300 and something million people in the US, it is much smaller and it does not have the density of institutions that exist in a normal country. So it has very weak political parties. It has essentially no formal political opposition. It fundamentally has very little, if any, investigative journalism. And the government accounts for a huge chunk of the workforce.
That lack of independent oversight, Josem says, means mismanagement can easily go unchecked.
Money doesn't grow on trees, but if we keep on losing these great big chunks of money, whether it be on this, or whether it be on a steam packet, or whether it be on other endeavours, that means less money for the government to pay for people's earmarked social care.
It's not just spending projects that worry him. He also points to a different kind of risk, one that will be of particular concern to MoneyVal.
We have an issue in the Isle of Man where we have an extraordinarily large number of charities and community groups, to the point that international money laundering investigations flag that area, that huge density of charities.
As the island prepares for MoneyVal's inspection in 2026, the stakes could hardly be higher. FSA CEO Bettina Roth warned that being grey-listed cost another jurisdiction £38 billion, about 11% of GDP. Josem says the Isle of Man must confront its culture of complacency and secrecy if it wants to restore confidence both at home and abroad.
Governments owe transparency to the people.
The question now is whether the Isle of Man can prove it's not just offshore, but above board.